Good morning, everyone. I'm actually quite happy to be invited because I'm not exactly from the digital, well, yes, I am from digital, but not from the creative side. My wife always asks me, say, why you get invited? Because you're not exactly in an agency. At best, I actually teach corporate communications at university. Why are you invited? You know, the most creative part of your day is like gelling your hair. So, yeah, that's exactly what she said. So, but I'm actually quite flattered that I get invited. So, I'm going to share with you some personal story. You know, I'm actually born in Hong Kong, go to a local school, but I was fortunate enough to actually attend, or my father, you know, got tired of me when I was 15, sent me to Australia. So, so when I was invited to talk about revolution, I was actually kind of like, okay, well, is it about myself or is it about my passion or something more? So this is the neighborhood that I lived in. It's in Causeway Bay. I used to skateboard around Causeway Bay and ride my BMX bike, and just like any delinquent kid in, you know, LA or somewhere else in, you know, around the world. You seldom see that here in Hong Kong nowadays, right? You don't see them. But that was me. Got sent to a really, really strict grammar school in Melbourne. You're not allowed to speak. You basically sit down, you wear your uniform, same way as what Hong Kong does. Yeah. So I'm not actually being trained to question others. Typically, I'm not. So we just follow rules. Now, it's early, so I'm going to ask you a question, okay? So this question is something quite interesting. You know, which country do you think has a higher life expectancy? I'm going to share with you. I'm sorry? Hong Kong. Very well. And this is the reason why I think all of you come to Hong Kong, right? Is that true? Yeah, I think so too. The statistics tell, actually, that Hong Kong offers the best environment. It's above Singapore, above UK, above New York, Canada, you name it. The only place that probably beats Hong Kong is one of those capital cities that allow gambling. Macau is one, and also Monaco, I think. Okay, good, thank you. This is the reason why I'm back in Hong Kong. You know, I've been traveling around, but just like any other kids, I had a vision. You know, I got brought up with a lot of pop culture, you know, different type in TVB actually, and of course it comes with a lot of advertising. And this is one of the things that I always wanted. You know, want to ride on the streets, big wheels. It's one of those that I really like, and everybody in Hong Kong used to love this. And when you grow up as a teenager, you want to be some kind of like muscle man, right? And we used to roll up newspapers, Ming Pao, whatever, and then we tie it together and you know act like we have nunchuckers. You can't get those easily actually in Hong Kong. Anyway, so this is actually what we all grew up in. This is how I grew up in as a Hong Kong local. Anyone remember this? Can anyone? Chips, right? That's how I grew up when I was in Hong Kong, and that's how I got me riding BMX bikes in Hong Kong, thinking that I'm gonna be cool. In future, I'm gonna be an officer, and on a bike. Indeed, I actually got a when I was in Australia. I was lucky enough to get because my father ride bikes, so I was lucky enough that I actually got a bike when I was 18-year-old in Australia. So that was when Top Gun was actually 1986 was hot, right? So we all think that this is the way that the future is, but and eventually you get there and you get all the good-looking girlfriends, but this is not exactly what I intended. I became an engineer. Okay, so an engineer typically spend their life with the computer and try to solve problems. But I'm not contented. So basically my career started off in 1990 as one of the first generation programmer at Hutchison Mobile Data. That was 1990s. That was even before Windows 3.1 became alive. So when I was working for Hutchison, all my friends asked me, can I buy a pager from you? I said, no, I do programming at a company called Mobile Data. What's Mobile Data? Okay, let me explain to them. It takes forever. Nobody understands. I was too early. So an engineer evolves, and I thought that over the years I've developed interests. One of the interests that I found was that I tend to find someone younger than me, and I try to mentor them. Somehow it builds inside, okay? And this has happened in all my professional life, in all the careers that I had with different companies. And when I immigrated to Canada, oh, by the way, this is not my car, okay? I had all the stock options from previous companies that I worked with, whether they are listed in Taiwan or US, so I saved up a bit of money. I thought that when I immigrated to Canada, that was when 9/11 happens. I immigrated to Canada, and I opened up a toy store. I mean, tell me, how many people the wife can put up with a husband that can open up its own toy store? Wow, right? Yes, I did it, okay? But look at the tagline, all right? Look at the tagline. Boy toy sounds kind of very corny, because every customer asks me, say, why boy toys? Well, this is the whole point of bringing you into the store, right? It's a mom and pop store. But the idea is to motivate the younger generation, start playing something interesting, perhaps you get somewhere. So this is actually not my car, but it's actually one of my customers. And he comes here and he spends money, okay? Anyway, this is my real car. All right, so some advertising, typical, North American type. I was actually quite surprised that the topic last time was robotics, right? Yeah, I think I missed that. But anyway, I love the video. So the idea is to mentor a lot of youth to become engineers. So this is one of the kids that actually worked part-time for me. He used to hide behind his mom when he comes to purchase his stuff. Then, give him the opportunity. He's now a PhD student, almost graduating at the University of Toronto. So he's a real engineer in material science. And one of the story that I want to share with you was this kid. This is a local kid. His name is Samuel. He's only graduated from local Ivy College, but throughout the last 5 years since he started interning with us, he had become a superhero. And this is my notion. My notion is you have to build a story and let your team know that this is something important. You could be a superhero. Now, he joined us as an intern, and he's been with us for 5 years now. And we've been around. He never traveled around before. He got his first passport when we sent him to training in Malaysia. In fact, it was for Blue Ocean Strategy, where I was trained as a practitioner. So he now helps out in my company and to develop a product which is called Open Heart. Open Heart last year has helped 25 charities to raise 50 million Hong Kong dollars using technology that he develops. Okay, so basically these are all some of them my students. This is actually my daughter, so I push her out to help. So Open Heart basically appears at events. We do charge a nominal amount, but we solve a big problem that they couldn't solve. So we support most of the events. At the back you can see us, where a lot of patrons got a lot of engagement. And each time they get, the system is built on game theory, and through the game theory you get a lot of engagements from the participants. Because in auction logics, you want engagement. You want them to be instantly gratified. So we've appeared in pretty much all the charities around in town. We do have competitors, but our hero has developed this story. We have helped many charities in Hong Kong to solve a problem and reach their higher targets. So to me, I think the story behind this is we think both Samuel and I think that we are Robin Hood. We are a superhero of some sort. So we've actually coined this name. Well, we didn't coin it. It's Robert Hood is an old English name for Robin Hood. So if you go back to the history of Nottingham, but this is how I pitch with some of the charities. We are the Robin Hood. We use our skills. We use mobile technologies. We use engagement, and we try to help. We wouldn't want to say rob the rich to feed the poor, but rob Peter to feed Paul. So we think that with our technology, we would like to bring more benefit. So this year, we're going to even make it a big leap forward by making it available, scale it to worldwide. So this is my story. This is what we've done. But now I have a new passion. I still want to create change. One of the change that I think that you can all help to become an advocate is about the use of air conditioning in Hong Kong. This is the problem. Because we are living in a high chain in terms of the GDP, we spend a lot of money on cooling, okay? And the government does that too in public places, it's 20 degrees. Over 34% of electricity in Hong Kong is consumed in residential. And a lot of those actually, it's not unreported, but it's because Hong Kong is kind of semi-residential, commercial, a lot of buildings. So a lot of them are not reported. But all our air conditioning are not smartly controlled. So what I have now in terms of the passion is Hong Kong can set the stage for the rest of the world. Yeah, if we can have a propaganda, a campaign, yeah. And this is how we support right now. The technology that my company works for right now is do that. But we have a social responsibility. We have a mission that we want to empower a lot of people to become superhero. So what we want to do is we want to open up the data, the API, so that people from university, from around the world can develop some applications where, for example, you can program your air conditioning to set it to higher temperature when you fall asleep already, yeah, or turn it off, switch it off earlier. This is all about energy management. So this is what I'm passionate about right now. I want to create this vibe around the world, starting from right here in Hong Kong. It's called Smart Aircon. And I'm not from the creative side, but I'm hoping that I can I'm already speaking to various governments trying to lobby the Environment Bureau, but I'm trying to lobby and try to make it into a successful campaign and hopefully build this to become an NGO, yeah? And I don't want to, this is a non-profit, yeah? But I think that there is a abuse right here in Hong Kong, and I want to find some superhero to help me and join the revolution. Okay, so this is what I have, and I'll pass the microphone to the other speakers. I don't want to hold up for too long. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you very much, Daniel. We're just going to jump right into the next one. Our next speaker is Jeffrey Brewer. He is the founder of Grayscale, which is a web design company, and also an active mentor in the startup industry here.
Thank you. Good morning. When I was asked to do a presentation about revolution, to talk about revolution, I was really thinking like, okay, what can I do? Like, as somebody who runs a creative agency here in Hong Kong, it's very easy at that point to talk about revolution in design or revolution in something in that area, but what she also said, like, I mentor startups, I love doing that, and I really went into like, okay, how can I connect revolution with startups, because what you often see is that there's a big I wouldn't say boom, but there's a big buzz around startups right now. And how did we get there, and why did we get there, and what are the enablers to do so, and basically what fuels that revolution in startups. So this is me. I run Grayscale, digital agency. I also have a startup, Surround App, that enables Chinese social media for people who cannot read Chinese. And I'm also organizer and founder of Postmortem. That's a conference about lessons learned from startup failures. So it's not about saying like, see me here standing because I got like 5 million US in funding. No, it's more like I failed and mea culpa, this is what I did wrong, and yeah, that's basically the lessons that I learned from that. Next one will be in October here in Hong Kong. So, talk about revolution in startups. Like I said, I like startups, but quite often people come to me, also at the digital agency, they're like, oh, I have a startup and I want a website. But then they say like, okay, I'm setting up an e-commerce website for selling wine. And actually at that point, I say that you're not running a startup, because the real definition of a startup is an organization focused on scalability and repeatable business model, with the focus on repeatable and scalable. So if you're setting up a barbershop just around the corner, you're not a startup. You're just an entrepreneur setting up a business. Why do a lot of people say startup? Because at that point it will be used as an excuse to say like, if they fail, but it was just a startup, and it's okay as a startup to fail. So I'm quite particular on this, that yeah, this is a definition of startup that I stand behind, and also I always add to this, ready for hypergrowth. Your business has to be ready at that point for hypergrowth, and then you're a startup. How come that, yeah, you have a lot of startups right now that are hypergrowing, that are ready for hypergrowth? Because there are enablers to do that. If you, for instance, like 15 years ago, wanted to set up a big startup that's ready for hypergrowth, yeah, you had needed at least 5 million US in funding to set up your server park, your software, those kind of things. And it required a lot of funding. Nowadays, you can have that same amount of hardware and software. You just rent it for 500 US a month, and if you really hassle, you can get it the first year for free. So that really enables things to do and ideas that you have, because it doesn't require a lot of funding to do in the first place. And beside of that back end, you also have the front end. So also these are enablers, the smartphones. Yeah, they enable a lot. They have a broad reach. Everybody has one, I hope. Who doesn't have one? Who doesn't have a smartphone here? Okay. So you have a broad platform to, if you do something, to spread that out amongst everybody. Yeah? And then I'm not even talking about that little watch that you have there. That's definitely, a lot of people say like, yeah, well, I'm never going to have an Apple Watch or like a smartwatch, but I'm pretty sure that like a few years from now, everybody has something like a wearable device that helps them see when your Uber is arriving, or see some notifications. To support that a little bit with data, these are, if you see the little yellow bars at the bottom, that's the amount of voice being used, and the red ones are the amount of data being used on mobile platforms. So even in Q4 in 2010, it was already twice the amount of voice, and then it only goes up, and in theory, between Q1 2014 and Q1 2015, there was an increase of 55%. So that's you see there's a lot of data going on, and that's also fueled by habit-forming products. Habit-forming products are products that you actually don't realize that you're using. These are habit-forming products like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Periscope. Those are products that, in theory, brought a revolution to the startup community, but also brought a revolution to people that are using it. It's quite easy for people to use. It's quite habit-forming, because in theory, who tells you to repost something on Facebook, on Instagram? Nobody tells you to do that, really. Unless it's your job and you have to, like, you work for Greater Mornings and you want to post something because you want to broaden your reach. But if you're just walking down the street or you see a nice sunset, then nobody really tells you to post something. But what you see is that those kind of habit-forming products are really boosting up the startup ecosystem, but also boosting up the use of mobile data. So this, who have ever heard of the Fogg behavior model? Nobody? Okay. Let me explain a little bit. That's B is MIT. This behavior is motivation, ability, trigger. So to form a behavior, you have to have a motivation, you have to have the ability, and you have to have a trigger. Okay, quick question. When was the last time that you got a telephone call and you didn't pick up?
A week ago.
A week ago, okay. And why didn't you pick up?
Because I didn't have the person in my phone, I didn't know who it was.
Okay, so you could pick up at that point, and you saw the that there was indeed at that point a phone call coming up, but you didn't have the motivation. Yeah. So what you see here is, if you're lacking a motivation, the behavior wouldn't be there. Same thing if you are really, really eager to get that phone call because you're waiting for somebody to call you. So there is a motivation. And you have your phone with you, but yeah, so you could pick up if you want to. But you put it on silent, so you didn't hear it, so there's no trigger. So there's no behavior at that point. So what you see is when you go to that list what I showed before, like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they all have this. They all have a motivation, they all have an ability, and they all have a trigger. So that at that point, they really create a behavior for you. And what you see here is the ability, if it's easy or hard to do. And if you have a low motivation or a high motivation, and then the action line, the trigger, or the trigger succeed. So quite often designers make something for the usability, but they forget to also add that aspect of the human aspect in that, to build triggers to create that ability. So it's not always about user friendliness. It's also about creating that habit-forming product that you want at that point for your client. Mm-hmm. So the Fogg behavior model, Google it, read about it. There's also a book called Hooked. It's a very interesting book to read. And like what I said, like, it's very easy to set something up in theory right now. So Instagram, for instance, was 18 months old when it was acquired by Facebook. It was acquired for $1 billion and only 18 people working there. So it doesn't require a lot right now, but it requires a habit-forming product, and it requires passion, of course. But the days of millions and millions and millions of funding are in theory behind us, and you could start something today. And you could change the way that people work, change the way that people communicate, and you can do that. You can start with that today. And it doesn't really require a lot of investment. So what I in theory want to say is, what are you waiting for? Start your own revolution today. It doesn't require a lot of investment, and do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And so for our final speaker is Nick Tinworth. He is the Customer Experience Director at Lab Concept, which is a subsidiary of Lane Crawford.
Good morning, everyone. I know we're running over a bit, so I'll try to be concise. First of all, thanks to Juliet and all the Creative Mornings team and the other speakers. What I want to talk about today is the retail revolution. For all my sins, I'm an ex-agency bloke, and I've gone client-side. And it's been a very interesting 6 months for me, because the reason I went client-side is because there's a fantastic opportunity in what's happening with the retail space at the moment. And as someone who, 16 years I've been working in digital agencies, sort of on the web side, digital side, mobile side, creative side, and so being able to take what I've learned about that and be able to apply it in an environment like the retail environment, for me, is really interesting. And I hate to be so literal, but it is a revolution what's happening in retail at the moment, because there's a new paradigm happening, and it's courtesy of the millennials that's happening. Maya Angelou, I mean, this is the greatest quote. They don't always remember what you say, they don't always remember what you do, but people will always remember how you make them feel. There's a lot of digital Darwinism happening at the moment. And what I mean by that is that technology and society are changing so quickly at the moment, thanks to Generation Y. Brian Solis is a marketer, a futurist, and someone who's studying this technology change in quite some depth at the moment. He's saying technology and society is evolving, and we need to adapt or die. And what he means by that, going back to digital Darwinism, is if you sort of can't keep up with what's happening or adapt your internal company culture and processes and the way that you look at things, you're basically going to die. That's quite an important consideration because it's happening very, very quickly, and a lot of companies are sort of trying to bolt technology on to systems and processes that are already there. But because these systems and processes are so different, the way that people are using technology is so different, you know, they're just kind of saying, this technology looks good, let's put it in here, without actually changing their internal processes, or the way that they're looking at things, or the way that people are actually using things. Technology, you know, is and isn't the answer. I mean, it's the enabler. And thanks to this digital technology, the lines are now blurring between online and offline for the retail consumer. The majority of Chinese consumers now choose a digital channel as the first step in researching retail products. And this is from a PwC Total Retail Survey that just came out. This is a really, really interesting development, and the way that retail shopping is happening now is kind of happening in two ways, and it's going to converge at some point. The first is showrooming, and what that means is you sort of start your journey offline in the retail store, and you finish it online. And it's quite interesting. I spend a lot of time watching people, observing people, and how they do things. And it's very, very interesting in Hong Kong, actually, to see people in stores and what they're doing with their phones in the store. A lot of people in the store, they're looking at price tags, they're scanning QR codes, and what they do is their journey starts there because they still want to feel the cloth, they still want to try it on, they still want to look at themselves in a mirror, but they're going to find it cheaper online somewhere. So what's happening in China, going back to that PwC Total Retail at the moment, is from the offline to the online, have you ever actually intentionally browsed products in a store but decided to purchase online? 86% of people in China, in this, not the whole population, but of this survey, compared to a global comparison of 68%. Why are people doing that? Because it's cheaper online. They still wanted to touch, see the merchandise, so they didn't start online and finish online, because again, that feel, they want to see the color, they want to feel the fabric and the texture. Then also the convenience, they just want to have it delivered. Web rooming, on the other hand, and this is the important one, you start online, but then you go into the store. So web to store, a little bit lower, but similar trends on the other way around. So they don't actually want to pay for delivery. They wanted to see, touch, and try the merchandise. But they also want that sort of instant gratification. They want to take that product away. But again, they're starting their journey online and then going into the store. And this is all happening, as Jeffrey just made the point, because of the ubiquity of mobile phones and that mobile experience. And so what's happening in retail at the moment is a lot of people are thinking, well, how can we bring that experience, how can we use this technology to basically just make everyone's lives easier, but also help them in their journey, because they do have these phones and they're using them. So what's a very, very interesting move by a Singapore-based company, Zalora. They're a traditional online retailer, and they did this in Singapore. They now brought it to Hong Kong. It's a really, really interesting concept for Hong Kong, because you think about Hong Kong, it's really easy to get stuff. It's really easy to walk around. It's really easy to go to a shop. You don't have to travel too much. There's not a lot of effort involved. So e-commerce isn't a massive deal here. It's getting that way. For a traditionally online retailer to have this offline experience is quite interesting. And the reason they've done this is because to introduce the concept of online buying to a Hong Kong consumer, you still have to have that in-store experience, but it has to be adapted to the way that they want to shop, the way that they like to shop. So you can't actually buy anything in this store, and this is a pop-up in Causeway Bay. And I recommend you to go and have a look, because it's an entirely new retail experience to what you'd usually expect. You go into the store, and they still have products there. You can still try them on, you can still feel the fabric, but you don't actually take anything away with you. What they ask you to do is, when you get into the store, you download the app using their in-store complimentary Wi-Fi. You get instantly 20% off, but then you order using the app or using any of their iPads that they've got set up, and it's delivered within 2-3 days. So this kind of experience, it's partly sort of brand building for them, but it's to get people used to this concept of online, of using the store. Another way for that technology to be applied, and again, sort of focusing on that in-store experience, is with magic mirrors. And these are sort of in their infancy, but pretty soon they're going to become the norm. And so, what if you took the best from that sort of mobile experience and thought about how it could help people with their pain points in stores? So if you think about the in-store experience, if you think about, oh, it's really hard to find someone to help me with this, or, oh God, I wish the lighting in this room wasn't so bright. There's sort of common themes in customer pain points when they're in a retail store. What a lady called Rebecca Minkoff did in collaboration with the eBay Innovation Labs was, in their flagship store in New York, they came up with this concept of the magic mirror. And so you walk into the store and you have this massive screen there. You can actually interact with it. There's a lot of videos online, so if you just kind of Google Rebecca Minkoff Magic Mirrors, there's some fantastic videos. They're quite long, so I didn't have time to show it here. But it's all about that digital experience in the store. So you can go in, you can browse products, you can select products to a basket, and then you can send that off and send it to a fitting room. And you go and have a seat and have a drink, and when that fitting room's ready, you get a text message saying, your clothes are in the fitting room. You go into the fitting room, and using RFID tags, it actually tells you what you're wearing. It can match it with accessories or other clothes. It tells you a little bit about the product. You can see different colors, different styles. You can sort of build a wish list around it. You can ping the sales associate to bring you different sizes or different colors that you want to try on. And from this magic mirror, you know, in the actual fitting booth, you can control the lighting as well. You can control ambient sounds. You can also actually complete the purchase, and it's quite an incredible experience. Consider. But Steve Yankovic, no relation to Weird Al, I don't think. He's the head of innovation for eBay, but even he understands that, again, the technology, it's the enabler. People still want to use their 5 senses, not just the 1 sense you use when you're doing e-commerce. The physical retail, the showroom, it's never going to go away. It will change and it will adapt, it has to, but that physical presence is not going to change. So when you're thinking about that in the context of customers, everyone's different. Everyone has different likes, everyone has different wants, everyone has different motivators and different pain points. Everyone's an individual, and it's our job as retailers to understand that. We can't just sort of blanket bomb everybody anymore and say, this is what you want, because that's just not the case. And to highlight that, I'd like to talk about SmartTone, because to me, I don't know if anyone else uses SmartTone here. They are the worst offenders in the history of content personalization. I get this on a regular basis. I'm a 40-year-old single white male, and they're sending me EDMs about Hello Kitty cherry wine box sets, and free hair colors, and manicure sets, and the list goes on. And God, they know me so well. They really do. And to add insult to injury, last week I was like, I've had enough of this. Oh, it's not just on EDM as well. I get it in text, and I can't unsubscribe from the text for some reason. So I got this email through. I was like, oh, I've had enough of this. So I looked for the unsubscribe link. There's no unsubscribe link on the bloody email. If you would prefer not to receive our emails, please send your email to this email with your contact number. Someone will call you to confirm that that's your... Come on, guys. Or you can call the hotline. 10 minutes I waited on this hotline before someone spoke to me in Cantonese and then hung up because I was English. You can't do this anymore. There's so much choice, and there's so much... there's so much choice out there for people that as soon as you annoy them, as soon as you give them a reason to hate you, they will. And it's really, really hard to get them to come back. I haven't quite jumped shit yet because they're actually the cheapest. But I will, damn it, I will. Yeah, this was me after that. Running over a bit, I'll try not to pass on too much more, but Generation Y, or also Generation C, they're the connected consumer, going back to what I was saying. They use technology in a different way. They've grown up with technology. It's the norm for them. They're comfortable with it. It's a part of their lives. It's intrinsic to what they do and how they act. So just going back to Brian Solis, he's really kind of key in trying to make companies understand that you have to adapt your business processes and practices to how this generation are using the devices and how society is changing, because the gap is just continuing to widen, and we need to shorten it. This is the generation who are more likely to find love online via Facebook, get broken up via Facebook or via text message. They have multiple devices. They're using smartphones and tablets while they're watching the TV. And it's the me generation. They know that they have a lot of social currency with their social networks. They feel like their voice matters, and they feel like their friends and their peers care a lot about what they're saying. They feel like the companies care a lot less, and they're happy to express that opinion very eloquently through social media. So it's a new retail experience because as a customer, I don't just want stuff anymore. We used to just buy stuff. Remember that? We'd go into a store and we'd just buy stuff. It's not about that. The old model is, as retailers, we had the power. There was one platform, it was the store. There was a focus on the actual currency. We're selling people stuff and we're making money. The store was the place, and that was great because the customer wanted stuff and we had all this stuff to give them. And what's happening now is because the customer has so much choice, they have the power. There's more platforms, there's online, there's offline, there's omnichannel. And it's a focus on social currency. The store now has to be more of an experience. It's not just about, let's get them in there to sell them some stuff. It's, let's get them in there, entertain them, give them a reason to like us and warm to us, and then let's take it from there. The old path to purchase was get them in at A, sell them something, and get them out at B. But if you look at the sort of new relationship, because of technology, we have opportunities to sort of resonate with them on many, many different levels, on many, many, many different ways throughout that journey. So we're telling them we want a need, we're saying hi to them at the store, we're making them feel like an individual, we're asking them what they like, we're engaging with them the way that they want to be engaged with, when they want to be engaged. And this is important, again, it's not just about push, 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 it's treating them as individuals and sort of being there when they want it, with what they want. That's very, very important. Because once you've established that relationship, that long-term relationship, that's when the magic happens. So it's time that we actually start dating our customers. If you think about it in the concept of a date, if you go out on a date and all someone does is talk to you about how amazing they are and talks about themselves over and over and over, I'm so great, I've got this, I do this, I do that. I mean, that's really boring. But if it's a two-way conversation, and if you're actually asking them what they like, what motivates them, and sort of that that sort of courtship process before it turns into a relationship, that's kind of what we're trying to do with retail at the moment. We want to start dating our customers. Because, again, that journey has changed. For the customer, it's not just about coming into the store to buy something. They want an experience, and they want to be entertained, and they want it to be personalized to what they want and when they want it. And with technology and digital now, and what's happening with the way it's advancing so rapidly is that there's that ability now. There's no reason for us not to know all this information about them. We have opportunities to be gathering data online about what kind of shirts they like, what colour, what cut, and tailoring our messages to them in that respect. And so that's it. I hope that was informative. Be happy to talk to you in more detail, or you can catch me on Twitter at Nick Tinworth, and be happy to share more information about how this retail revolution is happening and how we can adapt to it. Thank you very much.